Talk podcast. I'm Presto, co-founder of Project Purpose. What we got today, man?
I'm Billy, Project Purpose, co-founder, and we're in here with Trauma Talk, and we got a special guest in here today. We're gonna let her introduce herself.
I'm Charnel with Bow Yoga.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Before we get started, I just want to say we are here on behalf of the TRCEP program. That's the Trauma Response and Community Engagement Program based out of Historic Anacostia in Southeast. So, our goal is to help individuals heal from trauma. There's multiple ways you can do that. I know we're going to definitely get into that today.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. This is a very special guest, by the way, too. Sister does great work in the community. We're going to have a good conversation today. So I guess I could just start off with the obvious, like, what do you do and what got you into what you do, into the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a trauma-informed yoga instructor, and I started Bow Yoga about 4 years ago during the pandemic. But before I started Bow Yoga, I was actually called within meditation. And I got into meditation after my mom came home. So my mother, she did 18 years in prison. She left when I was about 3 years old. She didn't come home till I was about 21. Yeah, so, right before when she came home, a lot of her friends, like, they called me and was like, your mother about to come home, she might be trying to be a mother to you. You probably, a grown woman, you might not be ready for that, this, that, and the third. Just kind of trying to warn me. And what people didn't realize was, like, I was locked up right along with my mother. Like, I was that same 3-year-old little girl I was when she got locked up. That's who I was when she came home. Right. Mentally, emotionally, even though physically I was a grown woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
understood.
Although I was grown, I still needed that motherly guidance in my life. So I thought the family reunification process was going to be real easy because, like, when she was locked up, like, I visited periodically. We talked a lot. She wrote me letters. I thought it was going to be good. Like, right before she came home, though, like, once I turned grown, I probably hadn't seen her in like 3 or 4 years before she had came home because I just was, like, tired of going back up and down the road. She was in Connecticut, Danbury, and I had wound up in Richmond at the time. So, as she started to do her work, she got into restorative justice, and she started doing healing circles. And yeah, the family reunification just wasn't what we thought it was, because she had a life to rebuild. At the end of the day, imagine being gone for 18 years. Literally everything has been changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like a fish out of water. So we had expectations for her, but she also had, she had a life to rebuild at the end of the day. And that was where I really realized where a lot of my misplaced anger came from. Like, I grew up very angry, going from place to place. When she first got locked up, like, my father had me for a little bit. Then I went with my grandmother for a little bit. Then I went back with my father, and then he got locked up. So he got locked up when I was about, 6 years old. Police kicked in the door. We was living around 25th. Police kicked in, raided the house, ceilings, all of that. You know what I'm saying? That was one traumatic experience already at about 7 years old, outside of, the first one, my mother going to prison, and then he wound up going to jail from that. Remember him sitting in the chair, handcuffed, no clothes on, he tried to jump out the window. It was crazy, you know what I'm saying? I vividly remember this, though, at 7 years old. So wound up going with his sister, was with her for about 2 years, and then once he came back home, he wound up marrying his correctional officer. And I wound up going back with him, and she started off nice, cool, and then she wound up being abusive. Anything you could have said to a child, she said to me. She was mentally abusive, and when I was about 14, and I was, bad, fighting all the time,
active,
disrespectful, because my trauma was coming out in my behavior, but it wasn't being addressed. You know what I'm saying? None of that I was experiencing was being addressed, but the behavior was being, of course, trying to be held accountable, so to speak. And I was about 14 years old. First, my father sent me to Francis. That was uptown. I was getting into little arguments, and then he was like, you know what, you think you bad? He said my ass to Johnson, and that was a culture shock.
Right.
Like I tell
15.
people, that shit
Shout out
was
to
a
Johnson,
culture
man.
shock. I got into a fight my second day. Like I thought that I was something. Like nah, Johnson, like you really had to be about that. You was so cute.
Definitely.
And just like grew up just like again fighting a lot. And I was about 14, got into it with one of my teachers, and you know, me and my stepmother got into it. She beat me with a metal lamp, wound up putting me in the hospital. From there, my grandmother was like, you know, I'm gonna take her with me, and my aunt, you know, wound up finding out like, and my aunt had wound up having legal custody of me from when both my mother and my father was locked up. So she had the authority to like take me out of the home. So we wound up doing that, and of course, like CPS got involved, the courts got involved, and my father, he didn't speak to me for a little bit because, you know, we had to go to court about it, and he had, you know what it is, you know what I'm saying? So he was upset about that.
Right.
Fast forward, and you know, it was even a point in time when I was with my father that, you know, he had cut off all communications with my mother. My mother's a Moor. He had become a Sunni Muslim, and his excuse was, you know, he didn't want her teaching me her religion. And he wound up sending me down when I was about 13 years old. You know, he told me what she had did, what her charges was. She had quit a double homicide, and he felt like, you know, basically asking me that I want to rebuild a relationship with her. And I mean, that I want to continue to build a relationship with her. And he could tell that every time I would go see her, my behavior would be different. And about like 6 years old, like when I would first go and visit my mother, like when it would be time to go, I would be crying, screaming. They would literally have to pull me away from her. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how traumatic
separation
it would be.
anxiety.
You hear me? Like it was real bad. So, you know, when my grandmother told me one day, like, you know, it's already hard for her being in there. Every time you do that, you making it even harder. So at a young age, I took on this responsibility that really wasn't mine to take on. You know what I'm saying? I should have been able to they should have been able to hold space, but unfortunately, that just wasn't where we was in our healing, right? In our family. So, you know, my mother would like send people when they would come home, they would come up to the school, be like, your mother love you, your mother haven't forgot about you. Like they would let me know like your mother's thinking about you. You know, she was going through it. She was really going through it, not being able to have access to her child. She was even like going to the courts trying to like get the court that tried to get the judge kept denying her because of her charges, kept denying her. And then eventually he was like, fine, cool. My father was like, nah. Before all this stuff happened with my stepmother, he was just like, wound up sending me with my grandmother. I wound up coming back, then it happened with my stepmother. So I just wanted to give that context to show like, again, the level of trauma that was happening that was not being addressed. I wasn't getting no therapy. Nobody was like, if anything, people was more harder on me because of my mother and how she came up and how she was, because they didn't want me to go down that same path, or they was, you know, whatever the case may be.
And
so,
a lot of times it come from our ignorance. You know what I mean? Our family, like, they don't know about no healing, no trauma. You know what I'm saying? Because the traumas they went through, they just felt like somebody said, man, toughen up, stop all that crying, and, you know, keep it moving. So,
and that's exactly what my father would say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it starts with you, though. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. So, like, just fast forward to that. I've been on my own since I was like 16. I wound up, you know, going to Baloo, getting into like 2 fights on my birthday. I'm like, man, you know, if I want to finish high school, I'm going to have to leave D.C. And my best friend, her mom had moved out to Virginia. We have been best friends since like the 3rd grade. So, you know, her mother moved. So I called her up, went out there. I wound up going out there. I moved out there. So I wound up staying out there till I was about 23. So I didn't come back to D.C. till I was about 23. So I was gone. So I was out in Richmond. I wound up getting pregnant at 17. I remember when I first told my mother that I was pregnant, and she just bust out crying because she had me at 16 and she didn't get to finish school. So she just seen the patterns being repeated, you know what I'm saying? But I've been working since I was 16. I was working at JCPenney, so I was able to take some of my credits from working. I was able to go to summer school. You know, during those 6 weeks I had my daughter, I did my work, and I graduated on time. You know what I'm saying? So that was a cycle. That was a cycle broken, right? Because I didn't repeat that same high school dropout cycle that my parents had repeated. So, you know, just to give like that context of just like the trauma, and then having, being a teen mom. Fast forward, wound up coming back to DC, and my mother had started her nonprofit. It's called The Wire, and it's women involved in reentry efforts, and it's women supporting women coming home from prison. And I would help her with her nonprofit, and she wanted to do an arts program, and I was like, at the time I actually was going through a divorce. And I started to have panic attacks, and I was praying for peace, and it was dropping in my spirit for me to meditate. And when she said something about the arts program, I was like, you should put meditation in it, just so she could try to find somebody so I can learn, because I'm straight, I'm from Southeast. I ain't never seen nobody meditate, no, none of that. Like, my journey has truly been, my healing journey has been a real spiritual one. So, I wound up getting online. I found this lady who lived like an hour and a half away. She wound up coming here. She told me, my mother, and my grandmother how to meditate. And that was my first time ever really feeling peace, like within myself. Like all those years I was living in misery, in a turmoil, pain, just like, and it had become the norm. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even realize that that's what I was operating out of or operating in, because it just was the norm for me.
Normalized,
Yeah, so actually feeling that, I started to do research around it, and I just started to learn about trauma and how it affects the brain, and how, like, whenever something traumatic happened, the front of our brain that deals with logic, it gets smaller. The back of our brain that deals with emotion, it gets bigger. So that's why we're making more emotional decisions than we're making logical decisions.
Right.
And if our brain not even fully developed until we 25. So if you experiencing that level of trauma as a child, that much trauma, like, your mental health is definitely not where it's supposed to be when by the time you an adult or whatever the case may be. So, I also learned that when we sit down and we meditate, we're literally healing ourselves. We're literally regenerating our brain, like we're really healing out. And that's the powerful thing about us, especially as Black people, like, and us being gods and goddesses. And that's what they don't want us to know. That's the power they don't want us to understand that we have, that we can literally heal ourselves.
Exactly.
Few years fast forward, because I never had dealt with the trauma of being having an abusive stepmother. I wound up in an abusive relationship, and things had got so bad. So one day he wound up choking me until I passed out, and he had thought he killed me. I thought he killed me, and the police. One of the neighbors wound up calling the police, and when the police came, because I wouldn't tell him what he had did, I just wanted them to make him leave. They wouldn't. So I was like, if y'all don't make him leave, I'm gonna wind up jumping out the window. I know that's crazy to say, but in my mind, I'm thinking, like, if I say that, they know that it's serious. It's serious, you know what I'm saying, to make him leave without me having to say it. But that wasn't the case. They dragged my ass up out of there, and by my hands and feet, took me up UMC, stuck a needle in me, and I wound up leaving. And, like, once I woke up, I wound up just leaving. Fast forward, I sit on a panel, and I'm talking about this same incident, but I'm on a panel with, like, mental health professionals and domestic violence professionals, and they like, the police should have never been the one to answer that type of phone call, because number one, I should have never been questioned in front of him. That was a level of trauma. That was something that shouldn't have been going on. Right. Number two, the fact that I was just choked till I was passed out, the blood wasn't even properly flowing to my brain for me to even really fully be present in the moment to fully know what was going on. So it just goes to, like, we don't need the police answering or coming to our mental health calls or coming to our domestic violence calls. We need people from the community that are professionals that can do this type of work, because they understand our culture. They would have also understood that I wasn't about to sit up there and tell them nothing that he did, because what's in our culture? We have, those different levels of,
code of silence.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's a complicated situation to be in.
Understood.
Yeah, and I had just had my son with him, and I had he was 4 months at the time. So CPS wound up getting involved, and when my caseworker knew that I like to meditate, she was like, you know what, I got a friend who do yoga therapy. She was like, you might like it. I was like, all right, bet. I had never heard of therapy. Yoga, no, none of that. But I was like, okay, you suggesting it, I might like it. So I wound up going to the session, and man, the tears was flowing. I was crying. I was like, really getting through and really understanding, like, why I was in that type of relationship, what was keeping me stuck, what led me there, like that unworthiness from that childhood, from that abuse in my childhood, made me feel like that was love because it came from somebody that should have been giving me love. Like being able to make those connections to not to continue those cycles, right? Because we go through our own cycles of trauma. Once we come out of it, now our minds are taking us through our own cycles. It could not be even happening no more, but your mind is taking you through it, and you think that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? So once I started to really like get into that, and then again learning, like, you know, once we doing yoga, when we suppress our emotions and we suppress our trauma, it's going somewhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just disappearing. That's in our body. That's why we got the highest, you know, diseases. The male expectancy rates are not as high as they could be, because especially as black men, y'all taught not to cry. Y'all taught to suppress your emotions at a young age. But y'all still have these emotions. Yep. So where are they going? What are y'all doing with them? You know what I'm saying? So all of that stuff is literally affecting us physically. So when we doing yoga, we releasing that stress, we releasing that energy, we releasing that trauma. And then I started doing more research and realizing, like, as women, we hold trauma in our womb. And it dates back to 14 generations. So that go back to when our ancestors went enslaved. Right. So this trauma, most of it ain't even ours. This has been passed down from generation to generation, and it's in our DNA, literally. So when you sit up there and you wondering, like, why I'm giving these people this help and they ain't trying to take it? Because they literally have to go through those change. Like the healing is so real, and people don't understand the healing that and it's so deep. Needed.
It's so deep and better than this trauma, like you said. I ain't even know that. That's one to grow on. That 14 generations.
Yeah.
Didn't know that either. And I just want to say thank you. And the reason I'm saying thank you is for sharing all of that. Yeah. I've known you for a while, and I didn't know those things about you. You always carry yourself with classy, smiling, and good spirits. I mean, every time you walk in the room, like, it lights up. Like, oh, there's Charnel. Like, it's good vibes, and you pass that off to people often. I see it daily, and I've never heard anybody say nothing bad about you. And the fact that you've been through those things and you're sharing that on this platform where anyone could come watch it, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to everybody that's watching, because so many people go through these things, and they think they're alone, and we just appreciate you sharing all of that, because I know it's gonna help somebody. And even the whole yoga piece, like how it all came out, that's making me like, I move these cameras back. You might gotta set something up.
Definitely. I've been wanting to do it for a while too, for the core strength. But so if I can I want to ask you, what do you think was, now that you learned what trauma is, now you ain't know it back then, but what you think was your breaking point that really said, like, I need change, like, I shouldn't be going through this? If you could name one situation, or maybe two, or whatever, but one, for real.
It was the domestic violence situation. Okay. Because I'm a mom of 5. I got a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old. I got a set of twin boys. They're 9. And then I got my youngest son. He's 6 now. And when I sat back and I really thought about it, and it was like, do I want to continue the cycle of trauma, or do I really want to heal? Because mind you, I had already got into the meditation. I had already kind of dipped into it a little bit. I already kind of knew a little bit, but I wasn't consistent with it. I wasn't.
So the meditation was before the final incident of domestic violence, or
no? That was during my divorce. That came after the divorce, because I started to have panic attacks. Okay. Yeah. So once I started to have those, and I just started praying. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you come to your lowest point and you start surrendering to God, like, that's just what it be. You know what I'm saying?
Low. Without a doubt. If you could give like somebody that may be listening that's at that point, what would you tell them? What would you suggest to them that the first step is to trying to heal?
The first step is wanting it. Like, I had got to a place where I wanted to heal so bad that nothing else mattered. Not a relationship, not a job, not nothing. I even had to, everybody might not have that luxury, but I even had to send my kids with their fathers for like a year. Because I really had to, like, I had to get me right. I had to get my mind right. I had to get my spirit right. I had to get my heart right, because at the end of the day, that stuff was inside of me. And if I didn't want to inflict that same trauma onto my kids, I had to get it up out of me. I had to heal because, I was going to just recreate the same cycle because all we know is what we see, what we've seen. Definitely. We can't do nothing different if nobody have shown us nothing different or if you don't go out here and look for it, you know what I'm saying? And just and I started to put myself in healing spaces, in spaces where they was talking about, consciousness and higher consciousness and stuff like that, started to like really, and that's what I
gotta be a lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate and definitely that would be the first step, is wanting it. And then once you want it, everything that's going, because it's hard. If healing was easy, we ought to be healed. Our whole community would be healed. We'd be unified, building wealth, doing all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, it's not easy. And it's hard. It's hard sitting with yourself. It's hard because once you start to heal, you not only healing what's been done, you also healing the harm you've caused.
Right.
Because hurt people. And while you was going through that hurt, you was hurting people. Yeah. You was causing damage to people. So now you got to sit with that, and you also got to heal that, and you got to be okay with that. Once you come to terms with it and you accept it and you forgive yourself, understand that other people that you've caused harm to, they may not be there yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They may not be there at a place where they can accept that you've changed, or they can accept that, and that's just what comes with the territory. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all we could do is, in my mind, that's why my main thing is teaching youth, because I'm like, if we can get them these tools while they kids and while they at this age, then at least the generations coming up will be different. Right. And we can get to see that. We might not get to see it in our lifetime, or in our generation, but at least we'll get to see it with them. And that's the most important thing, because they got to keep carrying on for the rest of the people that's coming behind them.
And I feel like we're, as a whole, we're doing a lot better, even now that we're in those positions. Like seeing the work you're doing, work that I see other organizations doing, work that we're doing with trauma. So that they most definitely, we're planting those seeds. Yes. Like you said, they might not be doing it today, but I can promise you there'll be 5 other bowl yogas popping up in 10, 15 years and healing groups and things like that.
People that been through it, been through it with you. I mean, like learning from you. I'm sure that's what the young ladies learn a lot. You know what I'm saying? Young men as well. Like,
so I want to ask you this, because like what you said, I mean, you've been through a lot, right? So I know for a fact, because we all go through it. You had them days where you wake up and it's right at the top of your mind. Like, what do you do if you can't do yoga? Or, I mean, I guess you can meditate or pray anywhere, but what are some things you do to like get you through a bad day? Yeah,
I'll journal. Okay. I'll write, how I'm feeling, the thoughts that's coming up for me, what I want to release. Because the thing is that our thoughts create the actions, and the actions create the behavior, right? And it becomes a pattern. So you gotta, self-awareness is so key. So when I'm having a bad day, or I know that I'm showing up in a way that I don't want to show up, or I'm feeling like, damn, I thought I was over this, and now this is triggering me. Or like sometimes they call me the spicy yoga instructor. Because I be getting triggered and I just be going off. But, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we got to give ourselves grace. Because like we said, we've been through a lot, man. We've been through a lot. And they lucky we ain't burning this city down. You know what I mean?
Right. We're trying to heal it. And we don't even always have
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we got to, number one, give yourself grace. Don't be hard on yourself. Understanding you unlearning generations of trauma, not just your own trauma. You know what I'm saying? This is generations of trauma. So give yourself grace and journal, man. Write it out. And then sometimes I'll burn my journals just to release it. Release the energy. Okay.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should put that on the calendar.
Yes,
we
do a burning ceremony.
Yoga, Project Purpose. Put something in here. Let's write about it. You can share it if you want. If not, keep it up. We're going to throw that
we do a yoga session.
And do yoga, man. That'd be a good little event. We should do that.
Yeah, man. Coming soon, man. No long time coming, too. So.
And then just starting to learn about how powerful our minds are, right? And manifesting and knowing, like, everything we see around us is started in the mind first. And when we talk about, like, building wealth and all of that, just to take it a little bit deeper, like, that was also another reason why I wanted to heal, because I knew I wanted to get out of poverty. You know what I'm saying? And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it as traumatized as I was. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I want to do these things. How am I going to do these things if I can't deal with people, if I can't show up, if I'm always triggered, if I'm always
Right.
going off, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it was certain characteristics that I wanted to develop that I knew I needed to heal to do.
So, being as though you healing and you're in a good place, I believe we all are, but I'm saying you specifically right now. Do you ever think the healing is ever over?
You know, I have this conversation with gurus and everything, and I truly do believe so. Like, I mean, problems gonna always exist, but I don't feel like I'm gaining all these tools to always be traumatized. You feel me? Like, at some point, it should get, like, even now, like, I don't get so hung up on things as I used to. Like, I might used to hang on for years. Like, I'd be looked up, I'd be like, damn, I ain't talked to them in 2 years.
Right.
What are we even mad about again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, that's like no longer a thing where I'm like hanging on stuff for years. Like, now, even if I haven't talked to a person, I done let it go, that I see them, I be in such good energy and they still be mad. And I be like, what you mad about? Like, I mean, so, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like those,
That's good. Live and let go.
So you journal, and I think, like, in the community, I feel like trauma is the source of a lot of what we see.
Yes.
Like, I know
Definitely.
as an organization, that's why we've moved that direction. Like, we don't really do anything really outside of that. We do other little things, but I feel like it's the key.
If you think about it, like, we got the most social programs than any other state, and we ain't even a state.
Right.
And yet our crime is still as if we don't have nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, y'all. Something missing.
I feel like and I think the city's catching up. I feel like for a while we were just like, well, we just need to squash beefs.
Right.
The
It's
beefaholics model, which worked,
Right.
especially in my neighborhood. However, it's deeper than that, because you've seen it. Like, we have all them people from the same areas. Like, people be going off, crashing out.
Yeah.
All of that is frustration. It's something. It's insecurities that have not been dealt
Something
with.
that might have came out the house too.
The systemic
Shout out to
racism.
ceasefire too, man. Ceasefire, man.
Ceasefire.
Don't smoke with brothers, man.
Yeah, no
You know what I'm
question.
saying?
Brother
Right.
Al-Malik.
But we need that, because you do need that. I've seen some good organizations. I mean, things that don't even get ran up, that the city don't even know they took care of. Like, that didn't happen. That shootout didn't happen. But I think it's definitely time to start putting a spotlight on what is the root cause of all of this.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just beefs and all that. It's substance abuse, like we say, sexual abuse, violence, too. Things that
Domestic
violence.
I mean, that's why we say that you gotta do the wraparound services are needed. Like, even if you dealing with a kid, like, at some point you gotta reach out to the mother, the uncle, the grandmother, like people that's in the household with them, brothers, because some of these things is all factors of what
It's
makes
always
this person
happening in
act
their
like
house.
that.
They
Like, they
bred
could
into
leave
the
us.
shit.
Right.
They bred into
Yeah.
the shit.
They
Like,
could-
why we acting like this?
They can go
They
skydiving with us and have a great day, and then go home to a broken home.
I'm telling you.
A lot of
Just
them
imagine you with your
going.
you already live with your grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, whatever mom and dad doing, you feel me? Like, it ain't right. Then your uncle live there. He live with his mother. That's her house. He wake up drunk one day. You come in after school. He just drunk. Just slap the I don't know what else you boom. Like, you like, what? Now you go outside. You see somebody else.
You want to slap
them. Boom. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
It's happening in the house and training them right back into the
so
community.
that's just, you know,
Facts.
that's how it go, man.
So many great things to think about and try to understand. A lot of good things. What do you got coming this year? Like, we entering the fall. Like, what you got coming up that, if anybody would like to attend something that you're doing? I mean, you're all over the place. So I know there's a lot of places they can catch, but how can they, like, reach you? How can we?
My Instagram is bold, BOLD_yoga_LLC. I post a lot of our events and stuff that we doing on there. I know we got the Week of Healing coming up in December. That's normally happen the first week of December, where we take a full week and we heal based off of different topics that our community has been through, that has plagued our community from a long time, from healing from domestic violence to healing from homelessness to healing from poverty to healing from the gun violence, healing from mass incarceration, all of these things that kind of just like plague our community, and traumas, even mass incarceration, right? When we think about that, like, that's not a trauma we kind of inflicted on ourselves. Like, that's a trauma that's been inflicted on by this country. So so you know what I'm saying? So our traumas don't just come from within our communities, like our communities have been oppressed. So once we realize like a lot of the trauma is systemic, it does help us be able to heal and love one another because we understand that it was inflicted on us and not really necessarily us ourselves.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
What would you tell a young woman right now who, mother or father, that was in your position, some encouraging words for incarcerated parents?
Yes, for children with incarcerated parents, I would definitely say start your healing journey, because the separation from that parent automatically causes abandonment issues. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of inevitable. You being ripped, the parent being ripped out of the home or being ripped out of that child's life. It definitely caused that. And then I would just say, like, you know, really understand that, don't internalize it. You know what I'm saying? Don't internalize your parents being gone, them being ripped, because again, we've been oppressed. Our people have been oppressed for a long time. Mass incarceration is nothing but new age slavery. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we don't commit more crimes than other races. They commit just the same amount of crimes. They're just not policed the way we are. So that's what I mean by it being systemic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we're doing stuff that other communities aren't doing. Yet we fill the jail up with 90% of our people. You know what I'm saying? So don't internalize that and make it about you more so, because one of the things I wish that I could have did or been in a different headspace, so I could have been more there for my mother when she came home than being angry at her when she came home, because then I could have provided a different level of support. Like at the end of the day, she needed to learn about computers. She needed to learn about other that I should have been concerned about helping her with versus being caught up in my anger and my emotions. You know what I'm saying? So if you take that process to really heal now while your parent is either, you know, incarcerated or even if they home, so that you can reunify with them, because that's the most important thing. They want our families divided. That's why they snatched the man out the home to begin with. You know what I'm saying? They want us divided. So if we do the counter opposite and heal, then we beating the odds.
So the last thing, what would you tell a female that's in a abusive relationship or going through domestic violence? What would be something encouraging you would tell them?
I would definitely say get you a support system. You know what I'm saying? Get you a safe plan to be able to exit. Because,
exit strategy.
Yeah, exit strategy. And that support system that can help you through that, because you have times where you want to go back. You have times where you want to. It's hard because it's more so about, like, you done been beat down so much that you broken and you feel like that's all you deserve and that's all you good enough for. So it take a lot to pull yourself up out of that by yourself. So you really need a support system to be able to do that, to support you, to remind you of your worth, to remind you of who you are. You are a queen, knowing you are enough, you know, putting affirmations around your mirrors and just really, like, you know, and I would just start there. If they're in one right now.
Thank you. Appreciate
you sharing that. And again, I know this is going to help people. I know that somebody's going to take something away from it. I know I did. Yeah. So
Definitely.
I appreciate you sharing all that. I mean, this could be a 3-4 part series.
I'm telling you.
There's so much stuff to take in, let it sit and process and digest, man. So
you got a heck of a story too, man.
Heck of a story. Like I said, I commend you for how you just smile, carry on, and spread love to so many people that need it. Like, while you got all that on your chest and being a mother.
Yeah, but that came from the healing, though. You know what I'm saying? The healing is what allows me to be able to do that. For
sure.
real.
Good, man. Congratulations on the healing process, man. You know.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's it.
I think I want to thank you one more time and just say that if y'all want to reach Charnel here, you know, Bold Yoga, highly recommend it. We'll drop it at the bottom of the screen so you can follow her on Instagram, check out her website. And we look forward to collaborating with her as well so that we can begin the healing process, because it's important. You know, it starts with us. We're up. There's nobody coming to save us. There's nobody coming in like, we got y'all. They not gonna
save ourselves.
They're not gonna save the city and be like, you know what, we're gonna let everybody out of jail and give everybody $1 million. I mean, reality is we are the leaders and we need to lead from the front, and we're gonna do that. I really think that It's been an honor to serve with you, so I appreciate it.
Likewise.
We're gonna keep doing.
It's definitely been an honor to be here. I was excited
Thank
when
you.
I seen Presto was doing this. I hit him up. I'm like, yo, this is what we need.
Yeah.
Because you get healing from hearing other people's stories and hearing how you also can heal. So this is a dope thing that y'all doing, man. Right. Keep it going for real.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Stories like this, man, you know, which like your story. Like I'm pretty sure it's motivate somebody. Somebody got something, gonna get something from this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got something from it. It was beautiful. Yeah. Especially the piece, not like to dwell on that, but like you don't usually hear about the side of somebody having their mother incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? It's usually the father. You know, the father out the home, so the head. And then moms was gone for so long, like to hear that from a female that like, lost their mother to the system. It was, you know, definitely. I think that was. Yep.
All right, y'all. Well,
thanks.
See y'all.
We will see y'all
just
soon.
Like that.
That's Trauma Talk Podcast, Project Purpose, Presto,
Billy.
We out, y'all.